So today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to reconstruct an entire life, from birth to death, and even way beyond, using nothing but the documents a person leaves behind. We're basically going to become historical detectives.
It's a pretty deep question, right? When you get right down to it, what's left is a trail of paper, and nowadays, digital breadcrumbs. The life we're going to explore belongs to a man named Richard Kent Millslagle. We're going to follow his trail and see exactly what kind of story it tells. So, let's begin the investigation.
And here they are, the bookends of his life, all confirmed by official records. He was born in Iowa back in 1941, and he passed away in California in 2021. That's a 79-year span. So what happened in between? Well, that's what we're here to find out.
I want you to think of this like a giant puzzle. Every single document, a census record, a little newspaper clipping, a yearbook, it's one piece. By itself, it doesn't show you much. But once you start putting them together, a picture, a real picture, starts to form. All right, so here's our roadmap. We're going to start with the basics, then add in some personal details, uncover a really defining chapter of his life, trace his family's roots way back, and then finally we'll step back and see the whole portrait we've managed to put together. Every good investigation has to start with a solid foundation. And for us, that means we're going to start with the official records, the basic hard facts of a life. We're working with what historians call primary sources. Just think of them as the raw materials of history. They're direct evidence from the time period we're looking at. These are our most reliable clues, the real deal. Now, what's really cool about this is how we can actually map out a childhood. Using city directories and census records, we can see the Millslagle family moving, first inside Des Moines and then over to Newton, Iowa. And these aren't just addresses on a page, they paint a picture of a childhood on the move, maybe a family looking for new opportunities. Each line is like a little pin on the map of his early years. Okay, so facts and dates are one thing, right? But what about the person behind the data? Let's move on to our next set of clues and see how all this data starts to become a real person. And here he is, a high school yearbook entry from 1959, and all of a sudden he's not just a name, he has a nickname, Mole. He was involved in school activities, part of the boys' pep club. This one little entry just breathes life into the name, and we get our first real glimpse of the teenager. And get this, just 5 years after that yearbook photo, the story takes another huge leap. We found this wedding announcement in a Des Moines newspaper. The schoolboy, Mole, is now a husband. This one document marks an absolutely massive life transition. And of course, with marriage comes another move. The story expands from Iowa all the way down to Texas. A new address in Fort Worth marks the beginning of a new chapter for the young couple. But this new chapter was about to be tested in a way they could never have imagined, by events happening half a world away. Because this paper trail is about to lead us to, well, the most dramatic and defining chapter of Richard's life. And it's all revealed through military records and news reports from the absolute height of the Vietnam War. Okay, so picture this. The year is 1968. The place is Tan Son Nhut Air Base in Vietnam, and it's during one of the most intense periods of the entire war, the Tet Offensive. This is where the records point to a moment of just extraordinary courage. This headline from his hometown newspaper, wow, it just says it all, doesn't it? This isn't just a record of his service, it's a record of actual heroism. So what exactly happened? The official citation for his Bronze Star Medal, with a V for Valor, it reads like something out of a movie. The base is under attack. There's a rocket and mortar barrage. A building is literally on fire. And Sergeant Millslagle runs into the danger, pulling out crucial equipment and then trying to fight the blaze himself. This single document reveals so much about his character. And that moment of incredible bravery, it wasn't just a one-off thing. It was part of a long and distinguished career. His discharge papers show he served for over 21 years in the Air Force. I mean, think about that. This wasn't just a brief chapter for him. This was a core part of his life story. All right, so now let's pull the camera back a bit. Richard's life is just one thread in a much, much larger family tapestry. And the same kind of documentary research that tells us his story can also trace his family's incredible journey through the centuries. We can literally walk backward in time here. Using these pedigree charts compiled from all sorts of records, we can go from Richard to his father Donald to his grandfather John, then all the way back to his great-great-great great-great-grandfather, Andrew, who was born before the United States was even a country. And as we go further back, the documents reveal an immigrant story. The name itself is a huge clue. Just look at how it changes, from the original German, Millslagle, to the Americanized Millslagle. That one change tells a whole story about assimilation and starting a new life. This timeline really puts the family's epic journey in perspective. From Germany in the late 1600s to colonial Pennsylvania in the mid-1700s, and then finally settling in the heartland of Iowa by the 1850s, the very same state where our guy, Richard, would be born almost a century later. It's amazing. So let's step back for a second and just look at what we've built. We've taken all these separate clues, all these pieces of paper, and we've actually assembled them into a portrait of a life. These were our tools, right? This was the historical detective's toolkit. Every single one gave us a different kind of clue. The official certificates, they gave us the frame. Census records and directories mapped out the journey. Yearbooks and newspapers added the color and personality. And of course, the military records revealed true character. We started with just a name, Richard Kent Millslagle. And by following that paper trail, we've pieced together this rich, complex portrait. A kid from Iowa nicknamed Mole, a young husband starting out in Texas, a decorated Air Force sergeant who showed incredible heroism under fire, and the latest link in a family chain stretching all the way back to 17th century Germany. And that really leaves us with one final thought. All the documents we create every day, social media posts, school records, you name it, they are the primary sources for future historians. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What story will your documents tell?